Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the HBA of Metro Denver's SMC presentation this morning of Simple Digital Marketing Strategies. We're glad you all could join us. I'm Philip Eidenchink with Peak Staffing Group and your chair of the HBA Sales and Marketing Council for 2020. We would like to first thank our sponsors for the generosity in enabling us to put this program on for you today. Our overall sponsor, Ferguson BAC, we truly appreciate their support. Colton Mortgage and Wells Fargo Home Mortgage. So as I always say, if you're looking for an appliance or a good loan, you reach out to any of those three right there. So thank you again for your support. So today, we're going to be joined by the experts of digital marketing from Volume 9. And Volume 9 is a locally based digital marketing firm, and they do work across the nation and a little bit overseas as well. So some of the programs or some of the clients that they work with would be Volkswagen, Aspen Snowmass, Bobo, Land's End, you name it. If it's out there, you might have seen their branding on it or some of their marketing strategies. So I'm stoked to introduce Natalie Henley, who's the president and CEO, and Barb Dittert, who is the acting director for Volume 9. So which means if we have the president, the CEO, and the director, I think we got the bigwigs today. So I truly appreciate your time putting this on with us. So welcome, ladies.
Thanks for having us. We're excited.
Yay. So Natalie, I was looking at your bio a little bit, and I love this. You were asked, what would you do if you won the lottery? And your answer was?
Buy a lawyer.
To buy a lawyer. Hello, that's probably one of the best purchases anybody could ever make. I love that, because everybody needs one, right? Unfortunately, we all need one.
Okay.
As many jokes as there are about lawyers, we do need them. But anyway, so during this presentation this morning, everyone, there's the chat feature on the bottom. If you have any questions, please type in your questions or comments, and Natalie, Barb, and I will keep an eye on that. Other than that, I'm very excited to introduce you to Natalie and Barb. Take it away, ladies.
Awesome. All right, well, welcome everybody. We're excited to have you this morning. We, per the title of the presentation, wanted to keep this simple and focused. When you think about digital marketing, there is a lot of stuff that you can get out of digital marketing. And there's a lot of reasons why you might want to do something online and market your business online. So we thought it'd be fun this morning to see if everybody could guess. There was a survey done this year amongst about 70 home builders. And the first question that was asked in the survey is, what is the main thing you want from your digital marketing this year? What's the main thing you want to see for marketing? And I'm wondering if everyone would be up for guessing. I know it's 9 o'clock in the morning, so I know we're just brand new. We're just getting started. But if you'll use the chat feature, or you can use Q&A, but probably the chat would be better. If you can guess, what was the main thing that home builders want for marketing? Why are they doing digital marketing? What is the main thing they probably want? Okay, Megan guessed more leads. Any other guesses? Eric guessed sales. Barbara guessed traffic. These are all really good guesses, and these were all answers that were in the survey. All right, we'll give everybody just one more second in case anybody else wants to chat and answer. But the grand prize goes to Megan. So the answer is absolutely more leads, although I think everybody was in their guesses was just right around that same answer. And absolutely more traffic. Supporting sales was a huge one. There's getting more people applying for positions. There's a lot of different things in digital marketing, but the main thing that builders want is leads, which makes sense. So when Barb and I were putting this presentation together and we're like, okay, how do we keep this simple and focused? We really want to help focus it around everything we're going to bring to you today ultimately turns into leads. There's a lot of really cool things you can do with digital and a lot of different things we've tried with different home builders and communities. But we want to stay really focused on what are the things that are most likely to drive leads. And tangential to that, Eric, absolutely sales. And then Barbara, you can't drive leads without driving traffic. So I feel like it all blends together. So everybody's answer was rightish. But as you're thinking about digital marketing and gosh, is this a good fit for us? Should we spend time on it? There's some big reasons why digital marketing makes a lot of sense, especially in your industry. The main one being it absolutely brings qualified leads. And that's really important, obviously. Secondarily, your competitors are starting to do it. So this industry historically has lagged a little bit. This industry hasn't been an early adopter of digital, which means there's a lot of big opportunities, but a lot of companies are starting to realize the power and the value of using digital marketing, and more builders and communities are starting to put more of a toe in the water here. Third, I think this was Barbara's answer, more traffic. This is a big thing we've heard a lot of builders want, branding and traffic. We want more eyeballs, more visibility. And this is one of the best ways to get quick, measurable visibility for your community. And then also, this is a great way to share information, whether it's with an existing customer or prospect, or with somebody new. A lot of times, especially in a sale like this, there's a lot of education that goes into this. This isn't like buying a widget online. And digital marketing is a great way to share that information. So those are the main reasons why digital, but the main one we're going to focus on today is driving leads. All right, with that, I'll tee it over to Barb, who's going to walk through how to get started.
So, just like Natalie said, where should we start with any of this? Well, simply stated, just start from within. Start with your sales team, or even who is, anybody that is dealing with potential customers. Just sit down and ask them, what motivates all of your prospects? What fears do your home seekers have? How are they consuming information? What is your sales team? What questions is your sales team getting most often? All of that information is going to come in handy for your digital marketing strategy down the line. Just ask around, or ask previous customers. Ask, surveys, testimonials, focus groups, happy hours. Asking around and just talking to people is just a great way to start getting an initial set of data. Then, look around. What are all of your competitors doing? What's on their website? Just Google your competitors. What comes up? What if you Google, home builders in Denver, who's at the top? Figure out who your competitors are that way. Sign up for their newsletters. How often are they sending email blasts? What is included in their newsletters? If you want to be anonymous, sign up from your your Gmail account. You don't have to sign up with your work address or anything like that. But just snoop around, basically. Sign up for their blogs, follow them on social media. Just check out what they're doing so you can do it better.
Yeah. Hey, Barb, can you go back
Sure.
to just competitors really quick?
Sure.
This occurs to me. So one of the things we have at Volume 9 is we have a lot of paid competitive research tools. If you have a specific competitor that you would like us to toss into one of our tools and send you some data on, you can send us an email at the end of the presentation. We're happy to just pull a quick report. If you have one competitor, you're like, gosh, I wonder what keywords, I wonder kind of what are some of the things they're focused on. If you want to send it to us, we do have some paid competitive research tools too that we're happy to throw that in and just email you some data.
Yeah, all this stuff here is stuff you can do just on your own at home watching TV, because that's what we do a lot of now. And then at the end of this deck, we've got a little appendix with a bunch of tools that have free versions that you can use on your own to do a lot of this competitive data, but we can also just do it for you. It's pretty easy. We can just spit out a report. So then, speaking of data, if you don't have Google Analytics or Google Search Console set up, it's not super hard to do. If you don't know how to do it, somebody at your office probably knows how. We know how. There's a lot of people who can help you out with that. And they're really, really great tools to figure out what is happening on your website. So Google Analytics will tell you things like, what pages people are viewing, what what days people are viewing your pages. You know, it'll tell you how long they're on your website for, how long they're spending on a specific page. Google Analytics will tell you what people are doing on your website. Google Search Console, which also people might know it as Google Webmaster Tools. They changed the name of it a couple of years ago. This tells you a little bit more about how people are getting to your website or what they're doing to get to your website. So one really interesting piece of data you can grab through Google Search Console is just the keyword phrases that people are using to get to your site. Or you can tell, you know, how many impressions your website or a page on your website is getting for a particular keyword phrase, and it'll tell you the click-through rate. So you can tell, like, if you have, say, a very low click-through rate, but a ton of search for a particular keyword phrase, you can sort of figure out, okay, well, there's a little issue there. Maybe I need to make that page a little better. Business Manager, those are the Facebook and Instagram tracking and management tools. So, you know, if you're running ads, or even if you're just you know, boosting content through your organic social media pages, that Business Manager will tell you, you know, who's clicking, where they're clicking. You know, you can get a ton of information there. And one thing that I just love, I started using heat maps a couple of years ago, and I'm just obsessed with them. They're so interesting, and I mean, there's a tool called Lucky Orange that we've used a bunch, and you can go through your site, and this tool will literally record what people are doing on your website. So you can tell where people click the most, where they seem to be bored. So it gives you a lot of information on just what people like and are most interested on your site. And then, so, you know, keeping data in mind, an easy way to start with a digital marketing strategy, or if you're just not sure what to do, we recommend using some form of trackable advertising. This is not to say that traditional or non-trackable advertising is garbage, but there are a lot of insights you can glean from your trackable advertising, because you get data like that. I mean, the next day you can see, okay, this many people clicked here, this many people clicked there, and you can, you know, you can use that data to inform a non-traditional or a traditional marketing campaign. So this little screen grab I have right here is from one of our clients who's in a new home build community, and they wanted to expand some of their marketing into California. So we were able to go dive into their Google Analytics data, and we figured out, okay, so here are the top cities in California that have been on their site. So, you know, Los Angeles, that seems like it would be a good place to, if we want to do some targeted advertising, these would be 4 cities that we would include in our strategy, expanding to California. And then some just kind of examples of trackable versus traditional. You know, paid ads will give you data immediately. Social media ads, email. You know, you can tell how many people are opening your email right away. A download. You know, any sort of form fill. Those are all trackable things that you can just count. Okay, this is exactly what happened. Traditional advertising. I mean, there are ways to track sorta with these traditional advertising examples. So, like, you know, outdoor advertising, you know, billboards, anything, you know, you know, giant signs, anything outdoors, magazines, broadcast, radio and TV, you know, public transportation, the light rail, bus stops. I mean, you can say, we know that X amount of people drive past this corner every day, so here's how many people are seeing your ad, or, you know, this many people can get our magazine in the mail. So I mean, you have some soft data there, but we definitely recommend using hard data to inform your soft data, your softer strategy. So content. You can also use a lot of the data that you find through your trackable advertising to inform a content strategy. So why do we even want to do content in the first place? Definitely helps build your brand awareness. Great content shows you're the authority in the space. It helps boost your SEO. You know, if you have a good piece of content, you can just email it to your potential buyers, and it can be repurposed in a million different ways. You can if you write a blog post, notice it's doing really well, get it up on your Facebook page, and you can boost it for 20 extra bucks and expand your audience that much more. And here's an example of a success story that we've seen with a piece of content. What I found is this is called a featured snippet. So what happened here is we wrote a blog post called townhome versus single family home, what's right for me. Google has said through this little screenshot here, if you just type in townhouse versus single family home, boom, you see that first. There's a little picture, there's a little snippet. This means that Google sees this as the most valuable piece of content that answers this query. What I've noticed so far is most of the featured snippets that we've earned for our clients are in comparison type blog posts. So when people are trying to make a decision, do I want a townhouse? Do I want a house? I don't know. So if you're brainstorming topics, a competitive or comparison type content really tends to perform well. And then, in terms of keyword growth and your keyword universe growing, this screenshot represents the keyword growth that we've seen through the past year-ish for one of our clients. And they weren't writing any content in July of 2019. A year later, we started doing about 3 to 4 blogs a month, and you could see their keyword universe has grown. Their top 3 keywords have grown. The content really makes a huge difference in your overall web presence. If you have no idea where to start with topics, we've got our fancy tools that we use in our data, but you can do this on your own. You could if you just literally look up, cool houses, you might have noticed in Google searches, you'll see a people also ask thing pop up. Those are, Google has determined those are commonly associated questions that people are also asking that are related to your search query. You could do news jacking and, what's going on in the news, write a story about something that's trending. Again, competitor research, what are your competitors doing? And then a free tool that helps, this is a really cool tool. It helps you with a ton of research. It's called Answer the Public, and you just put a keyword in and it'll spit out so many different topics, keyword suggestions. It's a really great tool and it's free, and we use it all the time. And then one just sort of pro tip when you are writing content, if you're doing it on your own, keep in mind that people aren't, kind of back to the comparison type content that I showed you earlier. People aren't really coming to your site or doing research. They might be looking to buy immediately, but that's pretty rare. So remember, people are looking for information on the internet. So share information with them. Don't be super salesy. And it's if you're a salesperson, it's hard to get into that mindset of not selling, but people are just really looking for quality information. So, in the example of what you all do with home building, what are the local businesses? People are probably, if they're going to buy a new house, they want to know what's around. What are the local features? What's there to do in your neighborhood? If they're new to town, what's the history of the town? The homes that you're building, what are the coolest features? And especially for custom home builds and for people who are building for the first time, what can they expect? People want information. And if you can provide it and do it in the best way, then Google will reward you and you will be very happy. Okay, and so next up, Natalie's going to take paid ads.
Perfect. Would you mind going back one slide really quick? Because I want to mention something.
This one or?
Yep, this one. So we are going to share these slides at the end. Part of these bullets is these are the types of topics that we've seen for this industry that have been really, really successful. And the reason why I wanted to kind of go back to this slide as we go into paid search and kind of understanding the user journey a little bit is you can see in a lot of these bullet points, highlighting local businesses, highlighting local features, history of the city and state. a lot of these topics aren't necessarily for someone who's ready to buy. Now, if you have someone who's already in your sales process, this is great additional content to share for that with them, which is great. But as we think about kind of the buyer's journey, stats show us that on average, someone needs to touch your brand 6 to 8 times before they are willing to reach out. Now that touch point can be really light, like, oh, I've heard of you, or I read an article, or I saw your website, or someone forwarded me an email. And it's not every time. Sometimes people need a little bit less touch points. Sometimes they need more. What's important as you think about these different channels, and especially as you think about content, the key with content is first and foremost getting someone started on that journey, because once they're in, then you can use some other channels like paid to bring them back to the site. And as you're thinking about, gosh, content and paid and how does this all work together, really the key is you want to build out a rich site, and have plenty of content that no matter where somebody is in their user journey, you have something for them. And if they're just getting started, you have something. And if they've already talked to you and they're trying to get excited, man, some of this content's great for them. Or they're this close to signing a contract or reaching out, you've got some content for them. And some of these different pieces kind of fulfill those different needs. And as you think about paid, as we think about the different ways that you can put your brand on paid media, we've seen dramatic success in this industry with paid search, but you have to think about it in the right way. I think a lot of home builders, when they come to us originally, have this kind of viewpoint of like billboard marketing, right? Of, hey, I'm going to put up a billboard and people are going to see it. And then if 10,000 people drive past it, hopefully 100 are in our target audience. And of that 100, hopefully 10 swerve and write down our number, and then they call or they're excited, right? And you sort of play this number game to dwindle it down. But the real value when you think about paid search, is really that you can really hone in on, well, who is my target audience? And maybe I'm going to pay a little bit more for that impression, which is that someone seeing your ad. I'm going to pay a little bit more for them to click to the site, because I know they're in my target audience. And I'm not going to have this really hefty expectation that they are ready to reach out in this moment. Really what I'm trying to do with a lot of this stuff is I'm trying to get them started on this user journey. And that's when we think about paid search, and especially this first one we're going to talk about, which is search ads. That's the real value of it. So paid search, to back up a little bit, is the practice of you go into Google Ads and you go, hey, Google, I want to pay so that every time someone Googles a keyword, my ad shows up. And every time someone clicks on the ad, not when your ad shows up, but when they actually click on it, you're going to pay Google to have that ad show up under that query or that search. So this over here on the right is a screenshot of what this looks like. So if you Google New Homes Denver, you're going to notice the first thing you see is lots of ads, and they're marked as ads. These people are all bidding in the Google Marketplace to have their brand show up. It shows up on top of organic. This is a really good traffic driver, and especially if maybe you've got a newer community or you're a little newer to digital, this is a way to drive traffic fast. The key is you have to pay for it. So a lot of times long-term, most brands like to balance this out a little bit so that all of your marketing isn't paid clicks, because it's going to get really expensive if this is the only way you're driving traffic. So what you do is you go into Google and you go, hey, I really want to bid on the keyword new homes for sale in Denver. So every time somebody searches that set of keywords, my ad is going to show up. And there's some different components to this. There's a campaign. So overall, you have big campaigns of like, oh, this is my Denver campaign. And then there's some organizational, like different ad groups of, okay, if it's Denver Metro versus maybe Highlands Ranch or however you want to break it out. Sometimes you can create, different ad groups for that stuff. And then the main thing you're going to put in is keywords. Hey, when someone searches new homes for sale in Denver, I want my ad to show up. And then negative keywords is, hey, if someone adds this keyword in, I don't want my ad to show up. So for example, there's a Denver, North Carolina. So if someone searches new homes for sale in Denver, North Carolina, if you don't have homes there, probably don't want your listing to show up. So you can add North Carolina and NC as a negative keyword to really dial this in. And then there's ad text. So you can see here, this first one listed quick move-ins, ranch and 2-story floor plans throughout Denver Metro. You can really kind of hone that ad in for a potential buyer or whoever your audience is. the nice part about these search ads is because of all the features Google gives, you can get really specific about who you're targeting and what you want them to search so that you know they're in your target audience. And then what's really great is this ad text in the page you can land them to, because in ads, you can control the text that Google displays and then the page that Google sends them to. In organic or the free listings that show up under these ads, you can't always control that stuff. You can suggest to Google, hey, this is what I want you to show, but Google's going to kind of show in your listing what they want, and they're going to drive traffic to the page they want to drive it to. And in ads, you can really hone that in. So that can really help you extract leads pretty quickly, but more importantly, get someone started on that user journey, right? So if someone's searching for new homes for sale in Denver, you can't expect that they're going to come to the site and be ready to fill in a lead form. But what you want to do is get them to a page where they're ready to maybe take some sort of action, maybe sign up for an email, or you can capture their information and put them in a retargeting campaign. So, and that leads me to the next modality, which is display. So display has probably been the most successful channel that we've seen in this industry, because once someone comes to your site, whether it's through paid search, whether it's through organic and they just Googled you somehow and found you, whether it's through your awesome content that you're writing and they're coming to the site for the first time, one of the values of display is that you can then put that audience in a remarketing box and put ads in front of them to bring them back to the site. So a good example is, I don't know if you've ever been on like a e-commerce website and you were really close to maybe buying a nice pair of shoes, and then you didn't quite pull the trigger. So they're in your cart, but you didn't buy them. And then for like the next 2 weeks, that pair of shoes follows you around the internet. What that brand has done is they set up a retargeting campaign to remind you about their shoes. And you similarly can remind a potential buyer about your homes and some of the things that you can do. So these are visual banners that you can create. Over here we have an example. This is one that Richmond American Homes runs, just to kind of give you a sense of what these look like. They all come in all different shapes and sizes, but it's a visual ad that you can add, and it goes on different websites. So instead of going on like that Google search page, it kind of goes on anybody who's in the Google Display Network, which is a pretty big audience. What's really great about these ads is, in addition to remarketing, so once someone comes to your site, this is a very, very cost-effective way to continue to bring them back and through that sales funnel or through that buyer's journey. Cents on the dollar to bring someone back to the site. And then the second thing is broader display. Is you're thinking about, gosh, I just need to get eyeballs. We hear this a lot from new home communities, and we just need to get prospective buyers to know who we are. This can be one of the most effective ways, if you're looking for digital to do this, to do that. And when we think about, display versus traditional marketing, you might decide to put money into display versus like a billboard or a radio ad. And the reason why is it's extraordinarily cost effective. We've seen huge, this was the main, I know we talked a lot about kind of the success we saw for the Parade of Homes last year in digital. This was the main driver of a lot of those success metrics. This was hugely successful. And the reason why is not only can you create this great visual ad, which I think branding is so important for new home communities and for prospective buyers and just this whole category, but the targeting that's available can be really, really dramatic and really, really impactful. So whether it's demographics, okay, is it a man or a woman? What age are they? Where do they live? What's their geographics? But where we see a lot of really cool things is an affinity and in-market and custom intent. So we can start to target people who are interested in buying homes, or interested in architecture, or interested in moving to Denver. You can start to create these categories of interests that Google creates based on what that person has been Googling recently. And that can be really, really an impactful way to get your brand in front of these prospective buyers for the first time. So, and then Philip mentioned remarketing is an excellent tool. I totally agree. And also, that's a good reminder at any point. So we'll have a spot for questions at the end, but as we're going through something, if there's a topic you'd like a little more detail on, or you have a quick question, type it in. If we see it, we'll get to it. If not, we'll absolutely get to it at the end. So, but don't be shy. Feel free to type a question as we go through stuff. Okay. And then I do want to take a second and talk a little bit about data. So when Google Ads, I think one of the most impactful, so Barb was talking about this. Everything that we're talking about today is what we call trackable advertising. And that's really, when you think about the value of digital, the reason why people are saying, gosh, digital is cents on the dollar versus traditional, drives better ROI. It all comes down to, it's because digital marketing is measurable. So in paid search, from outside of all the other channels, is probably the most measurable, because you're putting bids in, you're putting money in. Google's giving you very quick details about what's going on and where your money's getting spent, and if you're getting ROI out of it, quicker and better than almost any other channel. So even if you're just looking for quick data, what are the best keywords? What's the best ads? What's the best messaging? Paid search can be a really, really effective channel for that. Barb, would you click to the next screen? So this is a screenshot of just some, yes, there's so much data attached to all of these channels, but this is some of the data we wanted to share. One of our clients does display, and what we were able to do is start to break out. So they started with a big generic display campaign, and then we started to break it down, and we created a campaign for people who live in Colorado who are interested in a new home. And then we created a campaign for outside of Colorado, people who are interested in moving to Colorado and buying a new home. We were able to break those into 2 different campaigns and optimize for that. So some of the things that you get very quickly in ads, not only how much money you're spending, so cost, but cost per click. And you can see here, very, very low cost per click. So in search network, on average, your cost per click is going to be $2 to $3. You can see here in display, it's less than $1. That's pretty, that's pretty typical results we've seen of much more cost-effective marketing, and a click-through rate. So what's kind of interesting is, because we were running this and we were able to break it out and start to test really quickly, you can see here, not only were we able to break out the campaigns and see what's going on, but you can start to see how quickly we were able to optimize this. And we saw almost immediate improvements in cost per click, click-through rate, all kind of the major stats you would want to look at. So cost is how much money did we spend? Cost per click is how much are we paying per click? You want that number going down. And then click-through rate, every time somebody sees my ad, what percentage of the time are they clicking through to the site? And what's really great is we were quickly able to break these out and optimize, and then start to see positive results from that. And that's what you want to be able to do. Not every choice you make in marketing is going to work. And that's any marketing across the board, digital, non-digital. But what's great about digital is you can start to see, okay, we did this, we made this decision, we tried this, did it work? And if it's like, yes, it worked, let's keep going. Like now we might start to break out different states or different regions, because this was a really powerful campaign. But if this hadn't worked, we might have been like, okay, that wasn't a smart choice. Let's pull it back and try something else. So I think what's really helpful about digital marketing is that when you start to make these decisions and try things, you can quickly start to optimize and see if that's working.
And one thing I wanted to point out with the optimizations we made, we were able to do a lot more with way less budget. So we actually, month over month, we actually spent 30% less, but we ended up seeing almost 60% more form submissions on the website. So just that simple, making sure we're paying attention to what's going on and optimizing accordingly helps save money and perform.
That's a great point. And I think too on this, which is also, I think, really interesting, is you can see here, this is not a very big budget, right? We're not talking about a $10,000 ad buy, right?
$1 billion.
This is a few $100 a month. And look at the impressions we're getting for that. So for $300, we got 150,000 eyeballs of people who saw this brand's ad. And this is people who already said not only are they in this area, but they have an affinity towards buying homes. So this isn't just general people who live in Colorado. This is people with an affinity to buy a new home. So for a few $100, if nothing else, just the amount of eyeballs and impressions and branding you're getting for that is really great. But then also a lot of for a few $100, how many clicks we drove to the website is huge. And again, in that targeted audience to start people on that buyer's journey. So.
And the other cool thing about this is when we broke it up to just general display and targeting people looking to move to Denver, we didn't really have but when we just were generally putting ads out there, we didn't have a way to figure out who these people who are coming to Denver is. And once we broke it up, we we saw our outside of Denver and outside of Colorado performance is actually doing a lot better with the amount of money that we're putting into the campaign. And we would never have, had we not broken it up, we just wouldn't have had that data. So it's paying attention is really, really vital.
Totally. And then there's a couple other big channels that I think are really important to mention because they're really, really important for different points of the user journey. The first one is email marketing. So if you're not doing email marketing yet, I strongly recommend considering it. I've made an argument for years that getting an email address should be your top KPI. Because if you have an email, you have somebody's contact information. You know, a lot of people talk about, oh, I want to build likes on Facebook. That's great, but Facebook owns those likes, and now Facebook's making you pay to get in front of those people. And it's like, oh, I got traffic to the site. It's like, yes, we can remarket, but once you have that email, you have a really cost-effective and efficient way to reach out to them. And email marketing, you know, is one of those channels that it's a really strong way to help people continue on that buyer's journey, and it's really, really cost-effective. So, I really strongly recommend having an email program of some sort set up. If you don't have an email system, some of the ones we've seen the most success with, Constant Contact, Emma, MailChimp. We personally use MailChimp for Volume 9. They're all cost effective. They're all really similar features. And they also, really importantly, help you make sure that you don't get in hot water. So there's some legislation around email marketing that you've got to follow some specific rules. Like you got to have your address in the footer. If you use a third-party tool, they all help you follow all those rules. So you don't have to worry about looking it up and researching it. So it's a really great way to send timely content as well as informational content to your audience. And then also as you're thinking about, gosh, you know, we have all these great pieces of content we might be rating on the site. Maybe somebody came and read one of them and signed up for our emails. Now we've got a way to start putting content in front of them and reminding them we have a great home community and this is what you can do. Or, hey, you know what, we just created a bunch of virtual tours. Come check one out. It's a really good way to distribute the different content that you're creating for your site. So I strongly recommend email marketing, and it's very cheap and easy to set up. So, and then the second thing I wanted to recommend is social media marketing. So this is interesting. That same survey I kind of referenced at the beginning, social media marketing is the main tactic that home builders use. 91% of the people who filled in that survey use social media marketing. It was the main tactic. And I think the reason why is a lot of home builders realize that if you're worried about branding or how your brand appears, social media marketing is a really important way to have that brand come across. And as we keep talking about that user journey and those touch points, it's really, really common for a user to hear about you for the first time and then check you out on social media. Because what they want to see is, okay, is this an interesting brand? Are people saying positive things? Do people have negative comments or positive comments? So a social media branding strategy can be a really important one. If you're not in social media, we recommend, start small. Start with one platform. Probably the best for everyone to start with is something like Facebook. And then if you're seeing success with that, you can boost into other platforms and other things. But we'd recommend focus on one first. You don't want to just put all of your energy across 6 different platforms because it's not going to go as well. But it allows you to repurpose a lot of that content again. And then there's some really great targeting also available in Facebook. I will say asterisks, there's less targeting in this industry than there are in others. So there's only a little bit of targeting you can do comparative to, like, for us, we can target a lot of stuff. You guys can target a little bit. But it allows you to boost and kind of, again, push that brand out. And then also we talked about retargeting. So we see a lot of success of using Google, using content, using whatever you can to drive traffic to the site, but then setting up retargeting ads in Facebook specifically, because people tend to spend more time on Facebook than any other website. And Facebook has retargeting capabilities. So what you can do is, however you get people to the site, you get them to the site and then use Facebook as a retargeting platform. We've seen a lot of success with that. But in order to do that, you do have to have a basic Facebook strategy in place. All right, I think that's all. So I think next, so we've got just a few more minutes here and then we want to have time for questions. So Barb's gonna Barb, you're doing this section, right? I can't remember. Was this me or you?
Sure.
Okay, Barb's gonna walk us through some pro tips real quick. And then we will send the slides out at the end. We're also going to have time for questions. And then if there's additional questions you have, or maybe you're in your elbows deep trying to set up display for the first time, I sent out an email address you can forward. Both Barb and I get that email, so it just helps us keep track of it. So if you have questions now or at the end or later, you could always send something to hello@v9digital.com.
So if you have taken the time to set up your Google Analytics and you have no idea of what you're doing, there's a simple tool called Google Tag Assistant, and it is a little like an extension, a Chrome extension, and it will tell you if you did it right. So that is a very it's easier than it seems. Use Google Tag Assistant; it'll tell if you did it right and if you need to seek additional help.
And I will say about 50% of the clients that we bring on do not have analytics set up properly. Especially if you weren't the one to set it up, maybe someone set it up for you and they're like, thumbs up, it's good. This is a free plugin, extension in Chrome. I would definitely just get this extension, run it real quick. And just basically if you see red, that means it's not right.
You've heard us talk a million times so far about content promotion. I cannot stress enough, please promote your content, because if you just let it sit on your site, it might get organic traffic, but if you just push it out there through email, through newsletters, put it on social. We've said this all a million times, but please promote the content. It'll do wonders for you. And you can even do something called, if you're on your phone or online and you're looking through, say, a news article, a lot of times you'll see suggested content at the bottom. And you may have seen something called Outbrain or Taboola. These are paid promotion networks. They're very easy to run. It gets your content out there. It's very easy to do, and your clicks are insanely cheap. Like, we've had campaigns that we've run before where we've put a piece of content out on Outbrain and we've gotten literally millions of impressions so if your goal is branding and you want impressions for cheap, Outbrain is the way to go. Millions of impressions for, $100, $200. So it's very cost effective. And then, promote your content. And then, and also we would also like to see you make sure that your website are well optimized for SEO. If you don't have the budget to go super crazy technical, not everybody has that kind of budget, but there are very basic things that you can do to all of the pages on your website, like make sure your page titles are optimized, make sure your meta descriptions exist. Make sure that there are links on each of your pages pointing to another page on your website. There's like a little checklist of just very basic SEO elements that if you don't have them now and you implement them, you will see a lift. It's the most, I guess it's the most instantaneous thing that you could possibly do in organic is optimize your pages. And then, with a little more advanced techniques, if you've got the time, if you've got the budget, making sure that all of your pages have 600 or more words on them. Really creating a strategy with the content that you're producing. Really just spending the time and the energy to hit those target audiences, write content that meets all of the stages of the funnel. There's something called headers, H1 headers, H2 headers. Those will help you, lift you up in the search rankings. And then schema.org that is an ultra. I should have like a super advanced little bullet here, because schema will really help you if you are. There's so much that schema does that's like a whole new webinar, but that's something that can really help you out if you're an e-com, or if you want to make sure that your map is showing up on Google properly. There's just a million things that you could do with schema. And then WordPress plugin. So SEO by Yoast, Rank Math. These are two plugins that are they're free. There are obviously paid versions because you can pay for everything, but there are free versions. and you can install those into your site, and it will help you figure out if your site is optimized properly. So that, you know, you can, if you're still at the basic level, you know, implement SEO by Yoast. It'll help you. It'll tell you, oh, you don't have a page title here. You don't have enough words on your page. It's super easy. It'll tell you what to do step by step. So yeah, so this is that's our little appendix of, you know, if you're gonna do anything, you know, make sure Google Analytics is on properly, make sure that you're promoting your content and writing content, and then make sure that your pages and your site as a whole is at least optimized at the very basic level. And then here are a bunch of tools. So this deck will go out to everybody, and I'm gonna do this so you can just click on a link. I'll make sure these are clickable links, and these are all tools that we use on a daily basis. That you don't have to spend millions of dollars. You can keep it cost effective and get data and progress in your digital marketing strategy. So I think that is it. And I'm guessing there are some questions, so lay them on us.
Perfect. I see 2 questions so far, so everyone keep asking questions if you have them. Barb, if you want, why don't you take the first one and then I'll take the second one.
Sure.
All right, so the first one is from Aaron, and the question is, what are your thoughts on more content on social media platforms versus websites? I've seen a lot of companies that hardly have anything on their website, but their Facebook page is overflowing.
So that is an interesting question, because I do think that people are starting to go to social media more often for information. The one problem with only having content on your Facebook page is that it's not as easy to find information on a Facebook page. I think Facebook's a great place for like I said 100 times, promoting your content, but I would not recommend neglecting your website, because a website is set up and designed for ease of use, and you should be able to find what you're looking for a lot more easily on a website than you would on a Facebook page.
All right. And then I'm going to ask this. I'm going to do this question because I just really love it. This is such a great question. Thanks, Barbara, for asking it. If a builder/client has a limited budget, what digital strategies would you recommend? What are the must-haves? All right. So I took a second and really thought through this because this is a great question. So here is this is what I would call your must-haves for a digital marketing strategy. 1, you have to have a website. I have seen some communities where they'll just put a page on. It's okay, but ideally have a website for your community. We strongly recommend WordPress. It's cheap and as easy to set up as a lot of the free website builders. But WordPress gives you a lot more flexibility if you decide you want to do more stuff with it over time, and it's also easier to optimize. So set up a quick WordPress site. You can get really cheap hosting, cheap hosting through Bluehost is $4 a month. Register through GoDaddy, I think it's $12 a year. Very cheap, and then just set up a free template. It's very easy to set up. Make sure you have a web form. Those are also, because if you set up a WordPress site, you can set those up quick and easy for free. Users prefer to fill in a web form versus sending an email. Set up Google Analytics, also free. So then on an ongoing basis, what I'd say the must-haves are, you want to write content per month. If you're really limited on time and money, write at least 1 blog post per month. If you can do more, awesome, but just do at least 1 piece of new content to the site every month. Include that basic optimization. So I've been on a rank math kick. So rank math is a free WordPress plugin. Just like SEO I use, I think we recommended both, but what's great about rank math is it's going to guide you through, just like Yoast will, how to do that optimization. It's also going to do the schema.org stuff for you. So that one's free and it does a lot for you. So it's really, really quick to do. And then if you have a little bit of budget, the 2 places that we've seen the most success, kind of bang for your buck, is promoting on Outbrain. So promote your content on Outbrain. and then set up a Google display campaign, one for retargeting and one just generic for targeting. You can get away on both of those with a really minimal budget, call it $200 media spend a month, so very little. If you can do more, great, but even a couple $100, I think you're gonna get a lot out of it. And then we would set up email marketing. So I think MailChimp is free for up to the first 1,000 people in your list. So you can set up a free version of MailChimp, or it's a few bucks a month if you don't want their logo on it. So overarchingly, you're looking at, you know, a $200 per month media spend budget, maybe call it $30 a month for MailChimp if you don't want to have their branding on your emails, and then the time it takes to write a blog and an email every month. So let's call it 4 hours of your time plus $250 per month. So that's what I would say the minimum viable product, the get results with the lowest budget possible. That's the stack that I would recommend. All right, do we have any other questions, thoughts, musings? Going once, going twice. All right, I think that's everybody's questions. If you have any other questions, please feel free to email us at hello@v9digital.com, or if you want us to do a quick competitive report for you, we're happy to do that as well. And then Philip, I'll turn it over to you because it looks like you've got more slides at the end. Oh, Philip, you're muted.
You would think. How long have we been doing this? I'm so sorry. So Natalie and Barb, thank you so much. I know you guys are extremely busy. You know, I'm married to a marketing person, and I know that she's busy, so I really appreciate your time and the valuable information you've shared with all of us. Again, we want to thank our sponsors, Ferguson BAC, Colton Mortgage, and Wells Fargo Home Mortgage. We've got about 3 or 4, maybe 5 new programs coming up through the end of the year with SMC. So we're still working on those, but programs like this are highly valuable for everybody that wants to continue to be successful, especially in these times. So, any other questions, folks? No? All right. Well, thank you all for your time. Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.